What's good, everybody? It is Ben back here with another episode of the Stage Break with the Talladega Unpack. That race was crazy. That shit was borderline unnecessary. All right, Talladega was an episode of NASCAR lore. That shit will go down in history, for better or for worse. Everyone will remember this race, especially a few of the drivers, for better or for worse. My God, that race. There's so many things to talk about. I don't even know where to start, so I'm going to try to start at as the race progresses, just to try to keep myself on track and to try to keep it all going flowing, because every facet of that race had something to talk about. It was absolutely insane. I'm glad that I had friends to watch it with on that day. It was such a fun experience, even if it had a controversial ending. Capitalize every letter of the word controversial. But regardless, enjoyed the show, and I think that's NASCAR. That's what NASCAR wanted, is to people to enjoy the show. So we're gonna start off right here. Lap one, got right into it. You had two rookies getting into it and wrecking, and you had a feeling. You had that feeling that there's a wreck on lap one. Okay, there's 187 more of these, and I don't expect it to get less aggressive. So what is it gonna look like? It set the pace perfectly for what was about to unfold. So thanks for the rookies for playing a significant role in this race, for sure. You set the tempo, and everyone was like, all right, fuck it, I'm going for it too. And boy, they went for it. It was by far one of the, if not the one of the most aggressive races by the entire field I have ever seen. Normally on a speedway race, you'll see like Stenhouse going for it, or even I could picture Tyler Reddick being a little bit on the more aggressive side, or someone like that making a crazy move, Ross Chastain even. And you're like, all right, there's that one guy in the field that makes that dumb move, and once he wrecks, you're like, all right, we got the gentleman. We're gonna have a class finish. But nah, from lap one, whoever was the leader, all three lanes were theirs. There was minimal give and take when it comes to giving up the lead during the race. And I didn't really understand it. It's a long race. There are points on the line. And every single car probably got into a wreck, so definitely every playoff driver got into a crash, and some were more implicated than others. Like Austin Dillon didn't need a crash. Kyle Busch didn't need to get into 7 of them. It was just not a pretty day for anybody. I mean, other than no, there was not one driver out there that I said, that was a performance worth noting. I mean, maybe Hamlin put it together. I did rewatch the last 50 laps later on in the day, and Denny he backed out. If you remember, he went on the apron, and I think Harvick did the same. They said, screw this, with like 30 to go, and that's when you really want to be setting yourself up, putting yourself in the front of the field, and they were like, nah, I know what's coming next. And they predicted the future and put themselves in a better position than most of the fields. I mean, Harvick ended up getting collected, but it's a product of what you're trying to do. But Denny went through unscathed, and it worked in his favor for sure. But I mean, Bubba Wallace was throwing crazy blocks, and God bless him. Hell of a performance. It was so fun to see him leading laps and being competitive. And honestly, like he is a underrated super speedway driver. He knows he's aggressive enough to be a winner on a super speedway for sure, and I think that's the key to doing it. You got to be able to put yourself in the best position possible and only worry about yourself and try to lead every lap, and I think that's what Bubba does, and I think it is going to pay off for him one day on a super speedway for sure. He is destined to win one of those things with the style of driving he has, and you could see a Ricky Stenhouse type season where he wins 2 of those things. I mean, you never know. You really, really never know, but the aggressiveness made for sloppy racing, in my opinion. It felt like drivers didn't really give a shit. And like, you want them, not that I want a boring race and to have them run the top line for 170 of a 188 lap race, but like, calm the hell down. It is a playoff race, And even as a fan, you want excitement the entire race, but it was different. It felt off. It felt strange. It was the most odd Talladega race I've watched in a while, and it feels like every 5 or so years we get that one that gets talked about forever, and this was the one for sure. Even with last year had a clean finish though, and Blaney forced Newman below the yellow line last year in this race. Okay, I can't get ahead of myself. Okay, we're gonna keep going here. We had Stenhouse wrecking early. That sucked. A lot of DraftKings lineups had Stenhouse in it for me, and didn't really do all that well. But it sucked. He would have thrived in this race environment with all the aggression. That is what Ricky Stenhouse is built for. That's what Ricky Stenhouse does. He would have been leading so many laps if he didn't get taken out. And he was on the high side. He was putting himself in good position. He was leading that top line. And then John Hunter said, "Nope," put him right in the inside wall. I thought he was gonna save it, but just sucks. Product of the beast. He's had it is weird when Ricky Stenhouse is the first caution of multiple races in a season. I want to find the statistic of that. Someone find that if they're listening. That who has caused the most initial cautions in a race? Which driver? I want to know that stat. That's interesting because Ricky Stenhouse is definitely leading the league this year. Let me tell you. Darlington, Bristol. Yeah, it was the first caution, I believe. Now Talladega. It wasn't the first caution, but early wrecks for Ricky Stenhouse. Early wrecks, just early in the race, he can't hold it together, and that would have been a race that Ricky Stenhouse might have even damn near won if he survived it all. And I think he would have been kicking towards the end. I think he would have had something to say. Underrated drivers. There was a lot of, looking at, as the race winded down, I'm looking at the people from like 13th to 17th, and I'm like, back marker. What do they know that the playoff drivers don't? Oh, let me just run 20 seconds back until everybody decides to wreck themselves, because that's what this race is. And we're going to come and steal some top tens and money, which is great. I love it. Strategy works. I think that all the small teams in NASCAR should create one super team. And why don't they do that? Oh my God, that is a great idea for, let's say, Rick Ware, or the people from Germain, or whoever you want to throw in there. The 00 car. The Spire's doing their own thing. I kind of want Spire. I want to see what Spire could be a sleeper in the upcoming years. I like what they got going. That could be Colleague 2.0. If Colleague Racing puts their money into Spire Motorsports, then hey, I like the driver lineup they got going and how they run things at Colleague. So that's an interesting scenario. So let's say like the other back markers of the field. What other numbers are there? Why am I blanking so hard? Regardless, they all make this super team, and they actually get 4 cars, and they're relatively competitive, and maybe they mix and match sponsors, and these sponsors are down with it. Oh, if that was ever a thing, I want credit for it. That would be a great idea. I love that. Okay. Keeping on to the Talladega things, getting sidetracked a little bit. We got some underrated drivers. Chris Buescher won his first stage and had the most stage points. I don't know what the betting line for that was, but crazy. Don't even know if there was one, but that's absurd. That some Roush driver coming here and flexing his muscles. Although that road courses and super speedways have been by far the most consistent for Chris Buescher, and I don't know if that's because the equipment maybe ain't the greatest and that it allows him to thrive, which is good. I mean, he's showing his skill, but it was nice to see that Sonny D car leading that field a lot. It was interesting and new, and he was setting himself up at the end too. Let's see, did he get a top 5? I know he got penalized. Oh, the penalty got him. The penalty got him. Oh, we'll get into those penalties. But we had Justin Haley finishing 11th. Ryan Preece top 10. Brennan Poole 9th, career best. Ty Dillon got a career best. Quinn Houff 13th, career best. Joey Gase, I believe, 17th career best. And Cody Ware 19th career best. So some underdogs getting some great finishes in that race. And Ty Dillon getting that 13 car in the top 5, probably the last time that Germain Racing will ever have a top 5 in NASCAR. So good for them. Good for them. Ty Dillon getting it done for them. It's really cool because he also don't really know what his future is going to look like with that team closing. So for him to get a top 5 and maybe, hey, sign me, I'm here too, kind of moment for him. That's really big. Really good stories in this race through all the action and chaos. Let's see, that crash. Kurt Busch damn near flipped over. Cole Custer had to looking at his chassis driving under him. Crazy accident. And that's just the tri-oval, bro. Tri-oval be causing some crazy shit. Get loose right off that thing, get a bump at the wrong time. Clint Bowyer gets in the left rear corner of Jimmy Johnson, and then all hell breaks loose from there. And he leapfrogged 2 cars. That was insane. That was so wild. Glad everybody was okay, though, because, I mean, the way that super speedway races started this season, very, very questionable on... Everyone's like, wow, is this safe enough? Do we even need to do this? And it's glad to see drivers walk away and from such a... Literally everyone getting into an accident, so every driver walked away from being in some sort of mess. So, great to see. Gotta love to see it. But what you don't love to see is Kyle Busch wrecking 85 times in a race. That was an absolute first for me. I don't think I've ever noticeably seen one driver be involved in so many cautions that weren't directly his fault. It was borderline impressive that I don't know what the odds are of being involved in literally every wreck in the race, but Kyle Busch did it, and he survived. I mean, all power to the 18 team. That was a playoff effort, what they put in at Talladega for sure. Beaten and banging and destroyed race car, shit hanging off of it, just racing till the end until it absolutely killed. And they were like leading the top line, second in the top line at the time of the crash, and I mean they were probably a little bit outside the top 10, if not right there. So they were on pace to have a respectable finish, and I mean with all the damage in that race, anyone could have won it. So putting themselves in position to even compete is impressive. Absolutely impressive by the 18 team. And Kyle Busch, unfortunately, kind of did it to himself. You can't say, oh, we're not going to make the next round and then expect to have luck. And I don't think he expects to have luck. But what the fuck, bro? Like, have a little confidence in yourself, and your team is putting on for you, trying to repair that shit and keeping you in the race. So come on, have that attitude. You have one more race. I mean, I don't know the last time when you won a road course race. Maybe like 2015. I don't know if he's won at the Glen since. Maybe in his championship year he might have won there. I'm blanking, but come on, Kyle. You're better than this. And not on the track. You're better than this mentally. And you show that. Even if you have moments of weakness, flipping out, it's Kyle. So don't be Kyle, and don't be negative Kyle. Be like funny Kyle and pissed off Kyle. Be pissed off and use that pissed off to win or to just get in the right attitude. Because damn, having Kyle Busch like literally sad kind of sucks. Like Kyle Busch probably does not want to go to the racetrack all that much right now. And like I want to see Kyle win. I want to see someone genuinely excited. And like I want Kyle Busch to win. What race he almost won? Bristol. He was running well a hell of a lot at the end of the summer. Going into this race, at least he had been having some better runs. And I was like, damn, I want Kyle to pull one together. Let's get him a win. And it is just not coming together. It is just absolutely falling apart like the race car. And speaking of falling apart, the rule book in NASCAR might need to be thrown in the nearest fire. Nah, I'm playing, but there was a lot of bullshit in that. And if I had to label that race with one word, it'd probably be bullshit. It was a show. It was a circus. It was chaos. It wasn't a race. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and that's what NASCAR wants, and I'm playing right into it. But like, it wasn't a good race. But it was fun, but it wasn't a good race. And maybe we need to have fun every once in a while and let loose and not care, and maybe that's the point of it, and maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know. But there was a lot of bullshit coming from the aggressive driving to the to the calls that NASCAR made to the. Oh my god! All right, we're gonna get into the bullshit now because I got a lot on my mind. All right, if every super speedway race starts to look like this when it comes to either crashes or penalties being applied at big moments or even throughout the race, they need to remain consistent. The consistency needs to start now. If finishes are going to be altered and controversy is going to be created and rules aren't going to change, like, this is the time to bunker down. You've made changes. You've captured the audience. You've gained trust in the fans from listening to us and creating a schedule that sounds interesting and sounds fun. So remain consistent. Even if there's bullshit like this in the future, it's okay if it's consistent. If this happens in 2025, we'll be like, all right, this happened in 2020, and this happened maybe in the 5 years prior to that. So as long as they remain consistent and just do it now, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with how this race ended. And it sucks at the time, but time will tell if it gets better. And I have no hatred for the yellow line rule. I don't necessarily think it needs to be abolished, but I do think Dale Jr. had a good quote saying that I don't think it's going to wreck more cars than they already did that day by getting rid of it. And I think that's true. I do think it can become more dangerous at moments, and I think that's what they're trying to avoid is like the worst case scenario, which is fair and good. I wouldn't want to see the most horrific crash ever either. But I don't think that having that is going to really affect the outcome. I think drivers are smart. I think there will be blocks, and there's not a lot of grass, specifically at Talladega. If they're going to block to the grass, then that's their own damn decision. If they're going to drive on the grass, that's their own damn decision. So if you're going to, specifically on the backstretch, you can block damn near to the inside wall if you really wanted to. So, like, I'm not too worried about the yellow line rule. If they decide to get rid of it, good. If they don't, live with it, because it's going to be a thing, and if they remain consistent, they're going to enforce it. But I have a feeling that it's not going to be consistent, and that we're going to see a problem, if not the next Talladega race, then the one after it or the years to come, because there's going to be bullshit in the future with how that race went down. I again don't think they should abolish it. I don't think the rule needs to necessarily go away. But at the same time, I think it'd be interesting to see how it would go without it. And I don't think you can alter the rules for a race like the Clash really like that. Maybe they could just try it, see what happens. But again, it's the Clash, so no one's really going to care. It's not a points race. It's not going to have the same implications that specifically a playoff race did, and how much a win would mean to anyone that was fighting for it at the end. So, again, I think it's here to stay. And it's unfortunate because the way that every single event like this has played out in the past and that we've watched, it's either been a no call on the person driving below the yellow line, or the person driving below the yellow line got penalized. It's never been the other way around. It's never been the person blocking was penalized. And this is the first time that it really, really was hunkered down upon. And it felt like the first time that I noticed it was maybe if it was last year, Johnny Sauter in the Truck Series, throwing a block all the way to the apron, which you really didn't need to do. If you hold your line on that bottom lane of the track, but you're still technically blocking. But NASCAR, man, you get me going sometimes. You get me going. But he throws the block and they penalize him. He doesn't get the win, whatever. That's the first time that I really noticed, okay, I thought that it was the other way around. Someone's trying to advance below the yellow line. They can't do that. So what's it matter if you go below the yellow line if you're not advancing your position? But NASCAR determines otherwise. And they have probably, I assume that if I read the NASCAR rule book, that every single rule would probably have the worst vocabulary ever. But this rule specifically has the worst vocabulary ever. Let me find this shit. Okay. I'm going to read this to you, and you've probably seen it. They put it on Race Hub. You might have seen it on Twitter or something, but this is so stupid to me. Listen. All right. If in NASCAR's judgment, not the stupidest part, but stupid, that if in NASCAR's judgment, basically meaning they're going to referee everything and they have the control over every call that's made, which is unfortunate, but when you can do that, you will. The vehicles that go beneath the double yellow line to improve position, that vehicle will be black flagged. If in NASCAR's judgment, a vehicle forces another vehicle beneath the double yellow line in an effort to stop the advancement, the vehicle may be black flagged. Now, the problem I have with that is that you say that someone that advances their position by going below the double yellow line will be penalized. Will meaning guaranteed, will 100% be penalized every time that is a thing, which is exactly what Denny Hamlin did. Now, on the other hand, the vehicle that forces someone to not make the pass may be penalized, meaning that if NASCAR determines some bullshit happens, that they block somebody because they wanted to win the race, or vice versa, or save a position, that they may be penalized. So why did the people under the may category all be penalized, while everyone under the will category face no consequences? I do not understand that. I think if you're they have to change the rule if how that race was officiated. They reversed the rule. They went against what the rule even says. And no, they didn't, because they said may, which means there's the opportunity that they could. But at the same time, you have the people that make the pass below the yellow line you're guaranteeing that they get a penalty, yet they didn't, which I don't understand. I don't understand that. And when you watch the finish, maybe it's just being ignorant, wanting Denny Hamlin to follow the rules, that when Chris Buescher initially comes down, him and both Matty D, after making their, quote, blocks, and I know Chris Buescher maybe got penalized for the Chase Elliott incident too a little bit later in the trial, but immediately as they make their blocks, they go to the wall, the absolute highest point of the racetrack. There is 3 to 4 lanes that Denny Hamlin can fit his race car in behind William Byron, or even go there is ample room for Denny Hamlin to merge back in, which is what I thought was supposed to happen once you go below the yellow line, is to immediately merge back in when you first can. And I wish that was emphasized, and I don't know if that's talked about in the drivers' meeting, but that should be a part of that quote. Merging back into traffic should be a part of that quote. And there was nobody. He had literally 3 lanes of room to try to make him, or to try to get back in, and he clearly didn't let off the gas. I've never seen someone. He literally was driving the third and fourth corner Auto Club. He was on the apron as far as you can go. If there was grass below him, he might have been in it. He was so low, and it's so crazy that NASCAR, it seemed like they ignored it. They didn't. It was never mentioned that they didn't acknowledge that, yes, Denny Hamlin made an absolute absurd move below, but he was avoiding a crash when there was no crash, and everyone went high, and Denny had so much room below. I think he could have still won the race if he stayed on the track. He could have got a run up the middle. I don't know. Eric Jones was there, might have worked with him. Denny Hamlin could have still made that same move on the inside if he does not do what he does. And it's so frustrating seeing something happen when you care about something so much, and it's just ended so stupidly and carelessly. It felt like it was careless. It felt like the replacement refs were there. Oh. It was so chaotic, and it feels not fair that you have to go through something and just have like an almost unexplainable finish, and like you're like, why when I want to cheer for NASCAR and I want to put on for NASCAR and support it, that like it makes some shit that's not supportable. I don't know. It puts you in a tough position, but regardless, we gonna watch every race. We gonna love it till we die. I need a sip of water in my goddamn throat. Whew. Excuse me. Whew. That was necessary. My God. But that race, man, got me going. Very frustrating. And rewatching it with my dad, I just wanted to hash it out with him, like how he felt. I wanted to see his reaction to all it going on. And he had the same interpretation as me. He thought, yeah, you have to merge back in line. And I can't believe that, like, you take away finishes from Chris Buescher and Matt DiBenedetto, regardless of what you thought had happened. You take away 2 great finishes from 2 underdogs and reward the playoff drivers. It feels like fixed in a sense, even though, I mean, it could be, but it's not, because they make all the decisions. And like, I don't want to think that there's ever, like, they would never fix like Denny Hamlin making that move, but like they can determine whether they want it to keep it or not. And it's freaking frustrating, man. Just the entire outcome of that race is just sad. I don't think there's anything good that came from it. I mean, I'm not upset that Denny Hamlin won. I have nothing against Denny Hamlin. I picked him to win the championship, and I want him to win the championship. And I have a good friend who always gives me shit whenever he wins, because Jimmy Johnson really doesn't win, and Denny Hamlin tends to win a lot. So every time I talk to him, he says, hey, Denny Hamlin, the one thing he's not is a loser. And that is true. Denny Hamlin is absolute destroying the field right behind Kevin Harvick. So I don't know, man. NASCAR, just please, for the love of God, you finally, you did some right. You did some right with the schedule. You can do better. You can do better. You can. And beyond that, I mean, the 2 races earlier in the weekend ended pretty shittily too. It was just a bad weekend overall. 2 caution. I mean, the Xfinity race wasn't as bad. There was some pretty nasty hits on that last lap. Can forgive them. Wasn't like the craziest finish about to be set up, But in the truck race, they're coming off of 4, bro. Like, just let them get there. Let them get there. Like, if you see Stuart Friesen, who crashed and was one of the bigger hits, if you don't see his window net down or you don't get radio transmission or something like that, then throw the caution. When you feel like there is a danger, then throw the caution. But, like, I don't know. There has to be other ways to manage situations like this, to not create so much controversy and to keep it, like, no gray area, just black and white. No bullshit. And I was actually thinking earlier that what if NASCAR had put maybe sensors on throughout the whole double yellow line, and it, like, instead of having officials on pit road, like how they did the video camera officiating, and I'm not even sure if they still do that, but they would show it, that like if someone went into too many pit stalls or something like that, like they would show what the video camera looks like, and it got officiated from like a truck. So why can't you put sensors in the double yellow line and have that officiated, saying you can tell when a set of tires passes over it or something, and let's say that NASCAR gets a light blink, like, oh, this person went below the yellow line, and they look back at it, and then that's again NASCAR determining. So how do they make it so it's just a black and white, no decisions having to be made? Because it's like a freaking referee determining if it's a game-winning touchdown or not, like the replacement refs. It literally is. Whenever it comes to a super speedway finish like this, it's the replacement refs trying to make a decision. Man, it's unfortunate. I mean, I'm one who likes a clean race, but I'm also one who likes some chaos and some controversy, and it gets NASCAR talked about. So and maybe that's even what they're going for. They're saying let's create the most bullshit so we get the most press, and who knows, maybe that's NASCAR. I felt like has been kind of popping with the news all year, so maybe they're just trying to keep it maintaining and setting up for the championship race and all that. But I cannot believe how that race unfolded. It wanted a first-time winner so bad. We had Rafael Lessard in the trucks, and who won the Xfinity race? Justin Haley. That was cool. Would have been nice to see like someone like Ryan Sieg come up there and try to get that win, but Justin Haley's won the last 3 on the in the Xfinity Series, and he won that Daytona race and the Cup Series, and he finished 11th at Talladega in the Cup race earlier, and rumored, quote, could go full-time with Spire next year. If I hope that team's competitive, if Justin Haley's driving it, or if they do part-time with like him and maybe Allmendinger on the road courses. That'd actually be really sick. I hope they do that now that I'm thinking of it. But man, I hope the future of super speedway races isn't compromised because of how this one went. I hope like they don't overhaul how it goes when they could just make like simple decisions and simple fixes to like maybe outdated rules, or maybe, I don't know if they're even outdated, but adapt. Shit's changing. Maybe with the next gen cars they can look at it or something like that. But I feel like there something has to be done with, if it's not this rule, maybe another rule that is another thing that, if in NASCAR's judgment is part of the rule, that change that to so it's clear cut in black and white, in that there is a yes and there is a no, and there is no decision and controversy when it comes to big moments in careers. Like Matt DiBenedetto's career could have changed if all that shit didn't go down. In a heartbeat, he would have got resigned. The last 2 races, if Matt DiBenedetto won, he would have got resigned that day or the day after. I think that's all they're waiting for, is that win. I think that's he needs that. He needed that so bad, and I feel like NASCAR literally took it away. It felt like a screw job. It did. And like to then penalize him, and that's just the cherry on top of the BS. And he found out like on camera. My God, just putting the man through hell. It felt like they're trying to blackball him, like freaking Jeremy Mayfield 2.0, bro. Like, just get out of here, man. And it's so bullshit. I don't know why. He's literally if it's not Clint Bowyer, there is no one that like I want to see an interview more than Matt DiBenedetto. He is gonna be straight. He's gonna be honest. Even if it sounds repetitive, it's true. It's true. The man goes through the same shit every single time, and it's not fair. And you just want to see him succeed for, like, him. You want to see him do it. It's like a freaking happy ending. You just want to see it happen, and it's just not happening. But goddamn, that anticipation that when Matt DiBenedetto finally wins, and I hope his first win isn't in the Xfinity Series, because I want it to be in the Cup. I want it to be huge. I want it to be big. Oh man, it is going to be. Everyone is going to love it. He is going to blow up immediately. I promise you. Matt DiBenedetto is coming. Matt DiBenedetto is here to stay. Matt DiBenedetto is going to find a ride, even if it takes another trip in the Xfinity Series. And he hasn't, I think, honestly, he hasn't had like a competitive full season in a lower series. So maybe having just more confidence in himself and what he can do is just big. And I hope if he doesn't get a Cup ride next year, he can remain in NASCAR. And he definitely will. He'll be racing something. He's too good not to. He's too good not to be in a car next year. And maybe he can get, let's say Haley comes up, he gets in the Colleague car, and then, I'm liking it. I'm liking it all. But, oh, my God. That Talladega race was insane. We're on to the Roval. Probably will be equally as insane. The way that this playoffs is kind of progressing in the second round is just being absolutely absurd. That I can't imagine the Roval being any less crazy. And right now, Jimmy Johnson is going to win that race. It will be his last NASCAR win. He is going to conquer the Roval. We are all going to see it. We are all going to love it. We are going to celebrate. We're going to pop bottles. It's going to be great. All right? On that note, I'm going to leave y'all to it. Get back in the good vibes. After Talladega goddamn near ruined them all. Remember, follow Ben the NASCAR Guy on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for future podcasts. This has been The Stage Break. Peace the fuck out.